Happy Wellness Tips for You Wednesday. Today I'm going to be sharing the power of your thoughts and how they affect your emotions. I thought I'd put my psychotherapy hat on for a change. So I'm running a free group this week, and in actual fact it's something that we covered on day 1 of our 7 days together. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to pretty much share what I'm sharing in there with you over the course of the next 7 weeks, unless one of you messages me with something urgent that you want me to discuss, in which case I'll sort of slip it in between now and the end of our sort of 7 weeks together to sort of replicate my free group. But so today it's all about how our emotions help to sort of direct where we are because of the thoughts, because of the behaviour that they then entail. They make us create. I'm getting brain fog here right at the moment. I'm going to start with a story. I was driving along the motorway a couple of years ago, and it was very, very rainy. There was an Audi that overtook me. There'd been a lorry that had overtaken me just before the Audi, and this Audi zoomed past straight of us, hit a puddle just in front of the lorry, who was still overtaking me at the same time. I must have been going really slowly thinking about it. A lorry overtook me. Just made me realise how slowly I must have been driving. And probably because it was raining, the Audi hit the puddle and literally just did a 90-degree turn on this puddle and went shooting up the embankment way over the top and landed in this massive ditch, as it turns out. I literally just dumped my car on the hard shoulder. I could barely dial 999. I was shaking so much because it just happened like that. The lorry slammed on his brakes, went screamed to a stop. He stayed in his cab. I guess he was trying to contact the emergency services too. Literally legged it up the side of this bank to try and get to this guy in the car, just in case he needed emergency treatment. Thankfully he was all right, very shaken. But the emergency services were called, and when we were telling the police what had happened, having both witnessed exactly the same accident, the lorry driver's version of the story and my version of the story, it was like we'd watched 2 separate accidents. How can that be? It had happened literally minutes beforehand, and we'd both seen exactly the same thing, but it obviously represented different things to us in our minds, and we'd created our own reality around this accident that we had both witnessed. And it was absolutely astounding to me. Obviously my version was right, of course, so was the lorry driver's. It was just how we perceived it. And this is why it's so important to become aware of our thought processes, our internal chatter, because those thought processes create our emotions, and our emotions are a launch pad for either going out there and growing and developing, or for staying in a really small spot and trying to remain safe in what we perceive as being safe. So I just wanted to sort of confront that today, because I think, it's so easy for us to just get used to our chatter. Are you even aware of what your thought processes are? Do you know what you say to yourself on a daily basis? Because most of us have a never-ending chatter going on inside our heads, and the majority of time that chatter is negative. It's a bit like, if you've been chatting to a group of people at a party, and then you leave the room, and then all of a sudden that group of people explodes into laughter. I think we'd be hard pushed to find a person who didn't think, I wonder if they just made a joke at my expense. We all do it. And it seems to be like the human psyche has this propensity to fear things more than to celebrate new challenges. And it also has the propensity to sort of focus on the negatives rather than the positives. We're all guilty of doing it. But when you become aware of that, it enables you then to create better thoughts. And you cannot have a negative thought. You can't be it's like crowding out the bad with the good. So you can't consistently think negative stuff and positive stuff at the same time. So which do you choose? Do you choose to have thoughts that support you, or do you choose to allow that internal chatter to be consistently negative? and to hold you back from growth, because that's essentially what it's doing. Um, do you surround yourself with people who support you? Because I heard something the other day on a team call that we were doing. We had one of these really cool gurus to chat to us all, and he was saying that if a flower doesn't bloom, you don't blame the flower for not blooming. It's the environment that you need to change to support that flower. And often, if we're sort of plagued with our negative thought processes, it's perhaps because we need to change our environment. We need to change the people that we're hanging out with. We need to change the books that we're reading. We need to change the films that we're watching. How many of you allow time every day consistently for some personal development, whether that's reading a book that's going to help you grow on a personal level, whether it's a book that's going to help you grow on a business level, or an audio book or a podcast or whatever it might be? There are so many different ways to learn. And yes, I think we all love a really good novel, we all love a good movie, but they don't really do an awful lot to enhance our growth. And if you want to have a growth mindset, then you really do have to start to invest in your own personal development. And this became really, I mean, obviously I'm a psychotherapist, but it became really apparent to me when I read the book A Man's Search for Meaning, written by Viktor Frankl. He's the sort of founder of logotherapy. And when he was in the gas chambers, he didn't know it at the time, but his wife and his daughter were both killed in the gas chambers. But he was surrounded by, I mean, just the horrors. How horrible could it have been? It must have just been absolutely beyond imagine. And he realised that he had this inner strength, and it really struck me when I read his book. It's a tiny little book. Read it if you get a chance. It's called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he decided that no matter how awful his surroundings, how much the guards beat him, how much the guards would starve him, how much the guards would make him suffer, nobody could remove the sense of self, the sense of spirit that he contained in him. And he absolutely refused to let his negative environment take away his inner peace. He knew he was in full control. And when we learn that actually we can't change our environment, really. Yes, we can change the people that we're hanging out with. Hey Steve, hey Jackie, hey Bridget, and Jill, lovely to see you all. Jill, have you found your ducks? Have they turned up? I really hope so. But when we surround ourselves with people who are going to support us, it's going to help you grow. And that saying of we are the average of the 5 people we spend most of our time with is absolutely true. If you're spending your time with people who gossip, who talk negatively about other people, you'll never find a successful person talking negatively about another person. They don't need to. They're too busy creating their own growth mindset. It's only people who have not hit that success yet, or who are the mealy-mouthed people who actually talk negatively about other people. Because you have to fail forward to grow. Life isn't easy. When we were born, there was nobody that made us sign this is going to be the easy life contract. There's a load of BS. Life is hard, but it's through those challenges that you grow. And you can make that decision to, no matter how tough and crappy life can be at times. And this isn't saying, if you've suffered a loss, if you're going through grief, if you're going through redundancy, anything like that, you have to work through those emotions. There is a natural process. The body and the brain is incredibly clever, and it will get you through most of the time through those processes. But beyond that, everyday living, how guilty are we all of focusing on the negative, focusing on the woe is me, focusing on the, well, I've had a tough day, so I'll just... No, it's BS. If you want a growth mindset, if you want to be successful, if you want to be in control of the small amount that you can be in control of, and the human psyche needs control. We all try and control our environments, but we cannot do that. All we can do is how we react to the environment. So, whatever life throws at you, I think as soon as you learn that actually you can make no difference. If somebody, I remember an occasion, it was awful. And I actually didn't deal with it very well at the time. It was before I sort of learned a lot of what I've learned over the last few years. And I was being shouted at. And this person who was shouting at me was uh, goading me, was trying to initiate a response, wanted a fight. And I'm not a very confrontational person. And it just, oh, it was awful. And my touch paper eventually was lit, and I just remember just completely losing it, shouting, just lost complete control. And it was after that, and I just thought, why did I let that happen to me? That person was trying to provoke me. They were looking for that reaction, and I was, even now it makes me cross. And I'm talking about stopping the negative chatter. I've learned from that episode, and and I fell prey to the intentions of that individual to try and get this reaction out of me. That person wanted a fight. They wanted to bring me down to their crappy negative level. And actually, that person still lives in negativity, still looks for fights. But I've learned since then, do you know what? There's nothing more, there's nothing that pisses somebody off more than you choosing to be ambivalent. If somebody's looking for a fight, be ambivalent. Just be neutral about it. It really annoys people. But they'll stop coming back for a fight if you can be ambivalent about it. It's about, you can't control what that person's shouting at you. You can't control what that person's doing to you, but you can control how you let it affect you. And it's really, really satisfying when you know that they didn't get what they wanted to get out of you on that negative level. So it's not about trying to control your environment, it's all about trying to control how you react to that environment. Because when you allow your body to go into stress, and we all live in like constant stress, whether it's nutritional stress, we're cold, we're hot, we're thirsty, we're stressed because our boss has put another ridiculous deadline upon us, we're tired. All of these are types of stress. And cortisol, one of our stress hormones, is ever so good. It's very, very vital to optimal living. If we didn't have cortisol, we would die. But we have too much cortisol. Totally agree with this. You can't fight on your own. So if you aren't if you were silent towards them, they have nowhere to go. Absolutely, Jill. Completely 100%. Tell me, have you found your ducks? I really want to know if your ducks are okay. So yeah, it's all about, so physiologically, cortisol is, when we're bombarded with it consistently, which we do tend to be because of our busy lifestyles, and we don't necessarily support ourselves as well as we should do. It Our pancreas releases insulin because of to raise our blood sugars, because the body has gone into fight and flight. If we went off for a run as soon as we got stressed and went round the block quickly, we'd be fine, because that's what the body's designed to do. But we don't. We sit there and we ruminate, and we have all this negative self-talk, which makes even more cortisol be released. So, say the deadline's arrived, so you're cross at your boss, and then you're thinking, how the heck? I've promised so-and-so dinner tonight, or I promised myself I was going to sit and have a relaxing evening, and again, it's not happening. Or I've got to go home and I've got to clean the house. I've got the ironing to do. I'm having my house looked at tomorrow. Yet all this cortisol's firing off all the time. So our pancreas is just releasing all this insulin into our bodies to try and control the way the blood sugars are working. Insulin is our fat-storing hormone. Stress makes you fat, particularly around the belly, because of that fat. Cortisol makes us hang on to belly fat primarily because our major organs are all around our sort of torso area. So in, evolutionary times, we want to have energy resources very close to our major organs because that's where we need them. And although, when cortisol is released, blood floods from our digestive system, it suppresses our immune system, suppresses our reproductive system, and it pumps blood to the muscles that we might use to either fight or run away in that sort of bid to survive, to ducks not come home. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Jill. I'm sure they're off doing duck things. I'm convinced. If there's any consolation, there are 2 new ducks on our village pond down the road from here. They weren't there yesterday. So it might be that they've set up camp somewhere ready to make ducklings if they're opposite sex. I'm not sure. Anyway, I hope they do. I hope they're safe. So it's, it really is important that we set ourselves up for success as much as we can do. And we recognize the fact that this internal chatter, this internal reaction has started. If there's a deadline, the best thing that you can do is think, okay, deep breath, be solution focused instead of the negatives of saying things about your boss, complaining about your boss to your partner, or just swearing about your boss very loudly in your head and fretting about everything that you're not going to get done because the deadline has taken priority. Your body, the deadline needs to be met. So the best way to deal with it is to be solution focused. It's to accept the fact. So stop resisting it, accept that it's there, and do your darndest to make sure that deadline happens. And if that boss keeps asking you to meet ridiculous deadlines, change the bloody job, leave, do something different. Create this life. I think it's so easy for us to feel like we don't have any control over the decisions that we make. We don't have any control over our situation. We live in an age nowadays where changing a job and creating your own business is so much easier than it used to be. I run a psychotherapy business, I run a massage business, and I run my network marketing, fitness, online health and fitness business. And those have all happened because I decided I wasn't going to work for somebody else again. I wasn't going to rely on somebody else's crappy deadlines and be treated like a piece of poo. I was going to work for myself, and that has taken a few years. It's taken some sacrifice. It keeps me very busy, but it's given me that freedom, and that short-term effort was well worth the long-term success. And you might say, yeah, but you might be a bit more go-getty than me. I'm afraid that this is not going to work for me. Nobody who is successful started knowing that they were going to be successful. They put one step in front of the other. Nobody knows how the whole plan is going to work out. None of us know what tomorrow is going to bring. But all you can do is make consistent small steps in the right direction. Surround yourself with people that support you. If your group doesn't support you, change it. Start reading personal development. One of the easiest things to do to help yourself grow. Start reading personal development. It'll help you realise how much better to use your time more productively, to use your resources, to give you ideas to help you grow, to create a better future for yourself if you need to create a better future. And when you get to the stage, you might be at the stage where you think, well, I'm pretty happy with how things are going. That's brilliant, but don't stop. Don't get complacent. Consistent growth in the right direction can just bring you so much success on so many different levels. And I'm not talking just about success, financial success or work-related success. Success on how you feel as an individual, your self-esteem, having a purpose every day. I think it'd be so easy to say, oh, well, I'd love to retire and not have to do anything for the rest of my life, just sit on a beach. But after a couple of weeks, we're probably going to start to get a bit bored of just sitting on that beach. As human beings, we need to have a purpose. We need to have a sense of direction, and we need to have some. There has to be a carrot that we can constantly trying to achieve. Because what's the point otherwise? You just live every day doing nothing particular. It's sort of like you're just on the hamster wheel of life, but not really sort of ever getting off it and doing anything that you particularly enjoy. Life is to be lived. Life is to be cherished. Life is to be done on our own terms, lived on our own terms. And that comes with an acceptance that you cannot control the environment, but you can massively control the way you let that environment affect you. And if the environment is not one that supports you, just change it. Change does not need to be scary. Change can lead to so much more than you didn't even know existed. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. I'm just going to check to see if there's anything on my list that I wanted to say, because I do have a habit of rambling and forgetting what I wanted to say. And the last thing also, change I can. Have that. Allow yourself to believe that you can do it. And crowd out the negativity with positivity and become aware of your internal chatter. I'll just quickly highlight it one more time. When I was just shared in my group on Monday, we did Mind and Emotions. Whenever I do a plank, I see my mummy tummy hanging down because obviously the skin on my tummy is stretched from having my children. I had 2 baby elephants, and every time I see it, and it's just like, oh, That's why my mummy tummy's hanging down. But that mummy tummy gave birth to two amazing miracle kids. My whole purpose in life was to be a mum. I know that if I die tomorrow, I fulfilled my biggest desire, which was to raise two children happy and healthy. So, you know, I that mummy belly is just like, it's completely irrelevant. Who cares? In fact, I should just be proud of it. I am proud of it, but I still look at it and I still think, and it's crazy. I suppose it's because we are so primed towards beauty. We're so primed towards, you know, I do not Photoshop my photographs, but I know a lot, you know, you look in the magazines, they are all photoshopped. Even beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people get photoshopped. I mean, no wonder there's so many mental health issues in like the fashion industry and the acting industry, because even the most beautiful people, they then Photoshop them too. I mean, how on earth would it make you feel to have this photograph which you're really happy with, and they say, oh no, 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 your waist needs to be a bit smaller, your legs need to be a bit longer, need to make your eyes a bit bigger, your hair bushier, whatever they do to it. And we've become so sort of like aesthetically driven rather than really appreciating the soul that's inside of the body. So yeah, my tips are to just become aware of that internal chatter, and when you're starting to talk negatively to yourself, or you catch yourself talking negatively to yourself, ask yourself, how can you change that? Change it for the positive. Instead of berating yourself, celebrate yourself. And there will be something positive that you've done today, whatever that might be. It may just have been doing the washing up after breakfast. It may have been getting out of bed when you really didn't feel like it. When you start to embrace the things that you've done that are positive, it helps your subconscious mind to focus on more positive things that you've done. And the more positive your thoughts, the less the negative ones are going to creep in. And you're going to support your whole physiology when you do that, because you're not going to have those cortisol spikes shooting off all the time, which means that your immune system will be boosted, your reproductive system will be boosted, your digestive system will work properly. And when your digestive system's working well, everything else works well, because nearly everything comes from our digestive system. 80% of our serotonin, one of our happy hormones, gets created in the gut. 50% of dopamine, another of our happy hormones, deals with sort of the reward center, gets created in the gut. So when our gut health is off, and cortisol really frazzles our gut health, you're flooding yourself with happy hormones. So it's not just negative and positive. When you can bring your thoughts up to a more realistic and positive level and get rid of that negative stance that we tend to have, you're going to support your body on so many different levels. So, and that will also affect your sleep. It will improve your sleep. It'll improve everything. I mean, we really all should have, there should be lessons at school to teach for positive mindset, because it underpins absolutely everything. It underpins our choices. It underpins whether we think we can try for something or not. It underpins our self-confidence. It underpins our whole physical health and our whole mental health. And it gives us that boost to try for things that, if we allowed ourselves to stay stuck in the fear mindset, it breaks through those walls and allows us to go for growth and success in however success is for you. Okay, right, that's all I have for you, friends. And any of my Bridget, I'm coming into the free group in a minute to talk about what are we doing today? Water. I shall be there in a moment. Thank you for joining me. And you guys, if you've got anything that you want me to cover in a future Wellness Tips for You Wednesday, either leave a comment under this or send me a private message. Thank you for your time, and I hope it has been helpful. Man's Search for Meaning was the book that I mentioned by Viktor Frankl. Give it a read. It's a charming book, but it also makes an awful lot of sense. So I will catch you soon.